Off the coast of Iberia, orcas have rammed, spun, and sunk sailing yachts by the hundreds, yet not one human has ever been scratched. Since May 2020, more than 500 documented encounters have seen these 5-ton predators surgically snap rudders while ignoring the terrified crews inches away. At least 3 boats now rest on the seabed. These animals could kill a swimmer in seconds, so why do they dismantle the vessel and spare everyone aboard? To understand that sparing, start with the animals doing it. They are not just any orcas. The whales behind these encounters belong to one tiny closed clan, the Iberian killer whales, and fewer than 40 are left alive on the entire planet. In 2019, the International Union for Conservation of Nature listed this subpopulation as critically endangered, the last rung before extinction in the wild. They live along a narrow ribbon of water, ranging through the Strait of Gibraltar and north into the stormy Bay of Biscay, shadowing the bluefin tuna they have hunted for generations. Everyone is known by name and by the shape of its fin, catalogued by a Spanish and Portuguese team called GTOA, the Atlantic Orca Working Group. So each attack in the news is not some monster rising from the deep. It is a collision between a frightened sailor and a species we cannot afford to lose. And what these few dozen whales actually do to a boat is stranger and far more precise than the word attack suggests. They do not hurl themselves at the hull in blind rage. They do not lunge at the people leaning over the rail. Instead, they swim with unnerving purpose to the single most important part of the vessel, the rudder, the flat fin under the stern that lets a captain steer. They bite it, they bend it, they wrench and snap it until the wheel spins loose and useless in the captain's hands. Then they set their weight against the flanks and push, turning the boat in slow, deliberate circles until it sits dead in the water. Sailors describe a heavy shudder running through the boat, a sickening thud against the hull, and the moment the wheel goes slack in their grip. Coast Guards now hand crews the same strange advice. Drop your sails, let go of the wheel, and let the boat fall completely still. Resistance only seems to prolong the ordeal. And through every second of it, the people on deck are left pointedly untouched. Here is the first fact that should unsettle you. None of this used to happen. The behavior has no history. It did not creep in gradually over decades of contact. It arrived almost overnight, in the spring and summer of 2020, as though a hidden switch had been thrown in the whales' minds. The earliest encounters clustered in the waters these orcas have always called home, the Bay of Biscay and the Strait of Gibraltar. Scientists who had studied this population for years, who knew these individuals intimately, had never once recorded anything like it. And it refused to stay small. Season by season, the numbers climbed sharply. Something had shifted inside these animals, and not a single person saw it coming. One scientist has put forward a haunting idea about what lit the fuse. Alfredo Lopes Fernandez, a biologist at the University of Aveiro in Portugal, built a hypothesis around a single adult female the researchers nicknamed White Gladis. At some point, White Gladis lived through real trauma, perhaps a violent collision with a boat, perhaps entanglement in fishing gear that nearly drowned her. She survived, but something in her was rewired. What began as one wounded animal's defensive lash at boats, the idea suggests, was watched and copied by the whales around her, until a whole fleet had learned to see a hull as a danger to be neutralized. It is a chilling image, a single traumatized creature quietly teaching her family to fight back. But Lopes Fernandez has been careful about one thing. This remains an unproven hypothesis, a story that fits, not a fact that is settled. One pattern in how it spread is hard to ignore, and it points away from a lone, avenging adult. The whales most tangled up in these encounters are not the scarred old veterans. They are the juveniles. And that detail changes the entire flavor of the mystery. A behavior that travels through a population by imitation, handed from one individual to the next, is the classic fingerprint of social learning. The way a joke rips through a group of teenagers. GTOA watched precisely that unfold, documenting the behavior rippling outward across the little population, whale by whale. And tellingly, the adults were frequently right there, floating nearby and watching, yet far less engaged, as if they were simply tolerating a craze they had no appetite to join. This craze did not stay a harmless curiosity. It exploded. Between 2020 and 2023, GTOA logged more than 500 separate interactions. Hold that against a population of fewer than 40 animals, and the truth lands hard. These same few whales were doing this over and over again. The yearly count traces an almost vertical climb, roughly 52 incidents in 2020, surging into the hundreds by 2022. And the boats stopped merely limping back to port. At least 3 sailboats have sunk outright since this began. In May of 2023, a yacht named Champagne absorbed so much damage near the Strait of Gibraltar that it slipped under and settled on the seabed. What had started as broken rudders had turned, quietly, into genuine shipwrecks. Shipwrecks sound a lot like malice. But before you decide these whales had declared open war on humanity, you need to hear about a hat. In 1987, in the cold green water of Puget Sound off the American Northwest, a single female orca was spotted swimming with a dead salmon balanced neatly on her head. Within days, others were doing the same thing. Whales across several separate pods began parading around with dead fish on their heads, like some sudden marine fashion. The trend caught fire, rippled through the population, and then, within a few weeks, it simply evaporated. It fed no one. It caught nothing. It served no survival purpose anyone could identify. It was, as far as science can tell, pure culture, a trend, and nothing more. Marine biologists still talk about that salmon hat craze as one of the clearest windows we have into the fact that these animals have culture at all. Orcas invent utterly pointless fads and pass them around the way we pass around slang and memes. And that strange fact quietly reframes everything about the boats. So here is the paradox again, turned up to full volume. The orca is the undisputed apex predator of the ocean. Nothing in the sea outranks it. A killer whale runs down seals, shreds fast-moving tuna, and teams up to kill other whales many times the size of any person. It has been filmed flipping great white sharks and drowning humpback calves, so a fiberglass boat and the soft people on it would be nothing to it. It could snuff out a swimmer in seconds, effortlessly. And yet, across hundreds of these terrifying encounters, the tally of people harmed sits, stubbornly, at 0. Go further. No wild orca has ever been confirmed to have killed a single human being anywhere on Earth in all of recorded history. Crews keep describing the same eerie scene. The whales ignoring the humans completely, fixated only on the machinery beneath them. The destruction stops at the steering gear. It never climbs into the cabin. It never touches the people. That chasm between what these animals could so easily do and what they actually choose to do has split the scientists into rival camps. Some are convinced it is play. Others insist it is boredom. Some read it as frustration, and a stubborn few still back, that learned defensive reflex, born of white Gladis and her trauma. The rift runs so deep that even the words have become a battleground. GTOA and most serious researchers now refuse to call these events attacks at all. They call them interactions, because the word attack smuggles in an intent the evidence will not support. There is no trace of coordinated aggression aimed at human beings. And the front-running explanation is almost embarrassingly simple. A rudder underwater sways, vibrates, and shoves back when a curious young whale bumps it. To a bored juvenile, that could be the most fascinating toy in the entire sea. That word, toy, is where the emerging consensus is quietly coming to rest. More and more researchers are drifting away from the tale of vengeance towards something almost anticlimactic, a passing cultural fad among bored, staggeringly powerful young animals. Cast your mind back to the salmon hats of 1987. That craze faded on its own the moment its novelty wore thin. Fads do exactly that. And here, no one has found a feeding motive, no territory being guarded, no hunger being satisfied. The whales are plainly not treating the rudder as prey. They are treating it as an object, a thing to grab, to bite, to spin, the way a young dog methodically destroys a shoe. The shoe is not food, and it is not an enemy. It is simply the most satisfying thing within reach. If that reading holds, this whole crisis is not a campaign at all. It is a phase. But calling it a phase does not make it safe, and here, the real danger flips in a direction most headlines miss. The ones truly at risk are the whales themselves. Hold on to that number again. Fewer than 40 Iberian orcas are left, a population so small it has no room for even one unnecessary death. Frightened sailors, or people who see only a threat in the water, could be tempted to strike back, with a propeller, a weapon, a bucket of poison. Authorities have pleaded with mariners to do the opposite. Stop the boat, stay calm, and never provoke or wound the animals. Illegal retaliation against even a handful of these whales could tip an entire critically endangered clan over the edge into collapse. The guidance could not be blunter. If it happens to you, report the encounter to GTOA. Do not fight back. And if you report it instead of fighting, you become a witness to the most unsettling truth in this whole affair. These whales, in the thick of what looks like pure chaos, are making a distinction. They drive straight for the rudder, the one part that steers, and spare every human being aboard. Across more than 500 documented encounters, not one person has been injured. The pattern looks far more like orca culture, a fad rippling through the restless young, than any organized war on people. Whether the truth is play, imitation, frustration, or lingering fear, the intent behind it stays stubbornly unresolved. But one thing is beyond all doubt. The sentence this strange saga keeps carving into the water again and again. They target the boat, not the humans. An animal that could kill us chooses, every single time, to break the machine instead. Maybe it is a game, maybe a message, and maybe we will never know for certain. What we do know is that a few dozen endangered whales are holding a mirror up to us, and the reflection is stranger than any sea monster we ever imagined. If this mystery pulled you under, subscribe and drift on with us as we keep chasing the ocean's unfinished stories.